Hop Nash IPA because it's Hop Nash. Hey, it's Brainmuffin back with a beer review, and here we have Uinta, I guess, or I always say Uinta, but there's the I is before the N, so Uinta Brewing out there in near Salt Lake or in Salt Lake. I know it's in out there somewhere. Salt Lake City, Utah. So hops. So this thing is 82 IBUs, and it is kind of malty, and there's a lot of information on there. Now, this one does have a best before the 2nd of March, and unfortunately I just bought this maybe a day ago. I bought it yesterday. And so it's almost 2 weeks past the best before, but let's find out if it's still good. So we'll have to take that into consideration. Although apparently I have had this one before, once. Okay. It's a kind of a grassy hoppiness to it. It's got a good color. There's hints that the malts have oxidized. Yep. Just starting to not be that good. Of course, it is a 7.3%, so sometimes the alcohol gets that high. You also get that same odd aroma. It's got a nice, almost like a peachy gold color. Not bad, but was probably better 2 weeks ago. Now, it was refrigerated at the grocery store, but I have no idea how long it's been sitting there. This is not the kind of beer that they typically don't have refrigerated. My local place where we go, Grocery Meyer, has some unrefrigerated craft beer, but it tends to be local, or at least in Ohio, and that's the stuff that actually they turn over faster. This was in the Singletons. I didn't see anything. I would love to get a variety pack from them and go through a bunch of beers. So Uinta Brewing, loaded, I don't know what else it says, goes well with anywhere. Okay, that's interesting. Body is kind of between light and full, yep, and the coloring is on the lighter side, which it is. Forget the map, pack the Uinta. So, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, and I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong, with renewable power, wind and solar. So there we go. Good for them. So, technically, oil is renewable if you actually understand where oil comes from. In order for you to understand that, you have to forget what the textbook tells you because it's actually wrong. Put it this way, bacteria is involved. So that's what gives it its organic component. So there we have an interesting color. It's a little more, like I said, it's a little more peachy-ish than golden, so it's a little weird in the coloring, but it does have the right amount of cloudiness. I think it's bottle conditioned even, yep. It does have some yeast sediment in it. Being 7.3%, sometimes, especially as the beer ages, it can actually throw some things off. So the hops feel a little off, not feel, but they smell a little off. I don't mean bad, they just feel a little wonky where they should be. It does have some nice piney notes. I would call this more of an American IPA, not so citrusy. And almost earthy tones. So you get a nice bit of bitterness at front. Mid-mouth, there's some malt that comes up. And at the end, there's a lot of bitterness. I mean, 82 IBUs, that's pretty high. But there's also the alcohol is there and kind of says hello. And so you get a little bit, there's this kind of malt scratchiness that's on the back end that tells you it's a pretty big beer. And it also tells you, this is where I say it's oxidized. I mean, this is the only way I know how to describe it. I've never had anybody correct me, and so if I'm wrong, please do. But what I feel is this, and I do this sometimes in my own brews, where there's been too much oxygen post, and when it's fresh, it's not a problem. But we're 2 weeks past the best buy date on this thing. Even though it's been refrigerated, it's not meant to store for too long. It's not, you know, and I get this same kind of feel on some barley wines. But it's almost like it's rusted, and it's the only way I know. It's like it even has that kind of texture. And I know it's a grain, and it's a sugar, you know, it's been washed from the grain. It's not a metal, but that's the kind of thing that it reminds me of. So it could be that there's some oxidation that's happened here. Now it might be as part of the bottling process. It may just be because it's old, but it's not bad. It's just hinting there. Now in about another month, it's probably more pronounced. So, you know, not bad. I would prefer this to be a little bit fresher, obviously, but this is part of why I've been starting to buy these at my local Meijer as opposed to other places that have some of this stuff, is they get their inventory down. I know I'm only buying one at a time. It's not like I'm buying 12 of everything, but I'm trying to support. Now we have our local Walgreens also has some homebrew, and that's where I'm going to be, homebrew, craft beer, and I'll be buying some of their stuff soon too, just to kind of support the effort. You know, I may not be making any amount of difference, but it's just kind of my part. I don't drink anywhere nearly enough to even be significant in it, but if I can say, you know, support it, I'm gonna, and I'm babbling for some reason. So I'm gonna check in. I'm not changing my rating of a 3. This is kind of a 3, 3.25 beer, even as it is, so that's pretty good. So maybe I was a little harsh. I probably had this. I wonder where I had this. Because my wife and I did visit out in Salt Lake several years ago, and I know I had, yeah, so I had a micro, that's the, it doesn't say where. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Maybe I can find out. No, I don't even know what date. Anyway, I'm just wasting card space, but I'm going to give it a solid 3. This is a nice beer to have with a lighter meal, basically because of the high alcohol content. You could do some spicy foods with it, but I would want to do kind of like a nice green salad, like spinach and other leafy greens that I don't know the name of. It's just real jagged. It's almost like it's a dandelion, but it's not a dandelion. Maybe you know, some baby kale, cabbage, sliced carrots, dry mushrooms, and a nice kind of vinaigrette or basil-based dressing, and maybe a little bit of cracked pepper, maybe even some red pepper flakes thrown in there just for a little bit of spice, a little bit of heat. You know, and chicken, like herbal chicken, fish. You can even do turkey. A real milder meat. Grass-fed beef would probably be a little bit too strong. You could maybe ostrich. I don't know, but that's what I would have with it, because this is going to be a big beer, 7.3%. It's going to be noticeable, and so you want to have kind of a lighter fare, but you can still do some flavors and some spices in there. I wouldn't do any heavy sauces or creams or anything like that. So there you go. Thank you very much for stopping by. Thanks for clicking like. Thanks for sharing. Follow me as Brainmuffin on Untapped. I've gotten quite a few invites the last several weeks. And follow me as Brainmuffin on Twitter. And I really appreciate if you follow. Click subscribe. That really helps this channel. We're trying to get this channel to grow more. We've got lots of stuff coming up, but we need your support. Thank you very much. Bye. Blabber, blabber, blabber. I don't know what's wrong with me. You know what I haven't done? A little beer. 82 IBU. Wow. Wrong before. We're going to edit the Guinness one.